So that really creepy story had a purpose. Neat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for this issue of Batman number 74. So this issue isn't really there's not much to it, honestly. And I don't say that in a bad way. This is pretty much the conclusion of this whole story with, Batman and Flashpoint Batman, Bruce and Thomas gallivanting through the desert, doing sort of nothing, not really answering any real question. Well, it doesn't answer a big question, which is, how is Flashpoint Batman here? As far as we know, Bruce doesn't ask this question. And it's in this issue that Thomas sort of points out why he sided with Bane. And to know that, you have to go back to the Button story. Okay, so we'll do this as quickly as possible. So in the story, The Button, Batman and Flash follow the comedian's Button through the Speed Force. I'm paraphrasing a bit here just to keep it simple. Ends up in the Flashpoint universe where Bruce and Thomas talk while they're fighting off Atlantean and Amazonian forces. One of the last things Thomas says is, you should stop being Batman. Just give it up. You don't have to do this anymore. Just go and be a dad to your son. And the story itself did try to imply that this message resonates with Bruce. It's something that he needs to do. And we could argue this is sort of what pushes him to propose to Selina. That could work, but here we are now. Turns out Thomas siding with Bane to sort of make sure that he did stop being Batman. The whole point, apparently, was, at least for Thomas, was like, hey, so now that he's broken, I can get him to stop being Batman. And as a little extra caveat, we can, bring Martha Wayne back to life. We'll be a happy family. He'll totally ignore all the problems going on in Gotham City. But he won't, because that's stupid. He wouldn't do that. It would take a lot for that to happen. So then they start talking about the book about the animals that were on their way to St. Petersburg to pray. They fall in a pit, and while they're trying to figure a way out, they slowly begin to eat one another until all that's left is the fox still stuck in the pit. So, yeah, Thomas didn't quite understand exactly why Bruce liked that story, and he's not saying he's weirded out, but I think he's weirded out a bit. And then when they get to the final Lazarus Pit, this is like Ra's al Ghul's greatest secret that the world's greatest detectives clearly know, so it's not their greatest secret. He talks about how, you're an addict, Bruce. You're addicted to being Batman, and this was the only way I could think of to get you to stop. So I sided with Bane so that way you'd be broken. What would happen with the nightmare story? What would happen with, being left at the altar? And now this is exactly what you need, all right? So we'll give you this. You can be a happy child. Everything will be fine. Totally ignoring the fact that it wouldn't be fine. Bruce just goes, the reason I like that story was because even though I knew it ended horribly each time, I still hoped that they would get out of there. I still hoped that they wouldn't devour each other. I hoped that it would be better. That's always who Bruce has sort of been. Bruce has always been, I think, the most optimistic person, oddly enough, in the DC universe. Because when looking at something like Gotham City or even that story, he says, like, I believe that somehow it can get better if we try. He believes in the impossible, I think, more than anyone else in this light. So he punches and fights Thomas Wayne. It turns out that while Thomas was asleep, Bruce buried Martha somewhere in the desert, so he'll never find her. Blah, blah, blah. They fight. And next thing you know, the comic ends with, we see one hand reaching out of the pit, and yeah, there we go. So I'm not saying this was stupid. I mean, the problem is there was no way to make this something sort of a will they won't they thing. 9 times out of 10, I think people are like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to bring back his mom, especially if they think this is going to fix everything. You bring them back just to kill them off for the most part. So yeah, I don't get it. I just don't. Also, I don't get this idea of Batman being broken. Like, the closest he ever got to being broken in this story, to my mind, was in the Cold Case story. But then he already fixes that when he gets himself on the jury to call Batman out for it. So, yeah. Like, I'm not sure how to break him, especially because every time he gets he gets, knocked down by something Bane or the KGBeast has done. He gets up and he wins. He pulls the win. He gets out of the Nightmare Machine. He stops the KGBeast. He does all of it. So how do we break him? King is very set on sort of telling a story without telling a story here. Not realize that how you break a character is just as important as them being broken in the first place. So with that in mind, we're going to bring this video to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.